Shanks wantedly let Luffy eat the Gomu Gomu fruit because Luffy is the fitting one for it. Can Shanks see the future? Did Shanks know about Luffy's Nika devil fruit and that it belonged to Joyboy all along? Is Shanks a celestial dragon? Is Shanks evil? So many questions, and I'm here to answer them all. We all know at this point that Luffy activating his Gear 5th helped awaken his legendary devil fruit of the Hito no Mi, model Nika. This revealed Luffy to be the Joyboy of this era, changing the course of the world in One Piece forever. However, there is one person that has been controlling things behind the scenes, keeping a balance, foreseeing everything that was to come. Red-haired Shanks. Whilst all of our attention is on Luffy and his new power up, Oda behind the scene is planning the next biggest reveal. Alright, I get it, a lot of you guys are confused, but some of you have caught on to this plot thread and have even suggested Shanks could be evil, such as a theory that Shanks is actually evil because at the beginning his job was to bring the Gomu Gomu no Mi to the world government, but instead Luffy ate it. But the thing is, he saved Luffy, and Oda probably wants us to think that Shanks is the good guy, but the whole time he's actually a bad guy. Wait, what am I reading? No, this isn't the case. Shanks is not evil. But don't worry, I'm here to clarify Shanks' role and tell you that Shanks actually does hold the key to the ending of One Piece, where he will eventually fight Luffy.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But before I can make any sense of this, I need to get everyone on the same page of how Oda is pushing the importance of red-haired Shanks. Think about it. Oda depicted the timeline of the events of Wano in a very unique way, as it was actually coinciding whilst the Reverie arc was happening. So timeline wise, the last we saw of Shanks was in chapter 907. Shanks made his entrance whilst the 5 elders were having a conversation. However, this was actually happening in the midst of the battle between Luffy vs Kaido. We know this because Shanks' talk with the 5 elders would explain the sudden change in tone we saw in chapter 1037 between the 5 elders, from the casual "this year Reverie is simply a curse" to "oh my god, no, this can't be possible." The gap is where Shanks came in and told them about Luffy, who was that certain pirate, and also obviously told them about his fruit. This is extremely important as it showcased that Shanks was able to cause such a drastic effect to the War of Wano even though he wasn't actually present. I'll talk more about this power play in a bit, but this brings us on to Oda's next move, which was to announce his upcoming movie One Piece Red, which will be a new story written by Oda himself and will give us more lore on the red-haired pirates and Shanks' daughter. Although the events and timeline might be non-canon, the characters and story links are. To top things off, in a recent One Piece SBS, Oda revealed the names of Shanks' crew. Oda also had this to say about them, quote, "Including those under their umbrella, the red-haired pirates are a massive team now. Those who appeared with a Don in the Summit War are those who have become the current officers executives. They all know of Luffy. Rockstar may be strong, but he doesn't have the title of officer." But this brings the question to, why is Oda revealing all this narrative now? Well, it's all to build up on what's to come. So far in Luffy's journey in the new world, he jumped from Yonko to Yonko while keeping to the primary goal of finding the One Piece. Like from Big Mom's pirate and then Kaido, each of these powerhouses had a huge story element behind them. With Big Mom, it was about Sanji, along with obtaining the road Poneglyph she had. With Kaido, it was about saving Wano and helping Momo, along with, again, obtaining the next road Poneglyph he has. There is only one more road Poneglyph, which was previously located in Fishman Island, and now it's missing. And I'm here to tell you that this Poneglyph is in the possession of the red-haired pirates, making the next major upcoming arc and plot heavily focused around them, hence Oda's build-up. But this now brings us to the next question on what will be the plotline for Shanks. Well, from the very beginning, we were given hints here and there on what type of person Shanks is. Like, have you guys ever questioned why Shanks never claimed the title of Pirate King? In fact, Shanks didn't even mention to anyone whether he ventured out to the final island to see what Roger left behind. We know that as a child, Shanks missed out and stayed behind to look after a sick buggy, but he did state that if he ever does go to Laughdale, he will go with his own ship someday. So wouldn't it make sense to visit the final island afterwards? Like, this island meant a lot to Roger, where Shanks' relationship with Roger was much more than a crewmate. We can even see it as Roger being some sort of father figure to Shanks. Roger passed on his straw hat to him just like Shanks passed it on to Luffy. Also, right after Roger returned from Laughdale, Shanks came to him with some questions only to cry profusely after hearing what Roger had to say. This could be that he found out Roger was about to die, but I believe Roger told him much more. We'll get to that more in a bit later. However, what we do know for sure is that Shanks must have gone to the final island. You can't be telling me that for over 20 years, Shanks just sat around and wasn't able to fulfill his words of going to Laughdale when he acquires his own ship. Out of everyone, he had the biggest incentive, and let's not forget, it was easier for him with the help of Rayleigh and his previous experience with Roger. It's not even far-fetched to assume my guy had Roger's journal and final testament. So Shanks must have learnt of everything that Roger, Rayleigh and Odin spoke about, including the forecoming of Joyboy as Odin stated back in chapter 968, and the information of that person being someone from the next generation who will surpass Roger and his crew. Like, Shanks legitly knew everything from the very beginning of the One Piece story. You don't believe me? Well, look at chapter 1 when Luffy declares he will become a great pirate better than Shanks and his crew. Shanks, before he passes on Roger's hat to Luffy, says, "You're going to be better than us, huh?" This directly goes back to Roger's statement on someone from the next generation surpassing them. In a way, Shanks passed on Roger's will to Luffy as Roger wasn't able to see through his goals. Shanks bet on fate, believing Luffy must have been the prophesied child spoken about. This notion was reinforced by Luffy eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which Shanks and his crew went out to steal. Like, Shanks went out of his way to take this fruit from a Cyberpol ship. There is no way that the red-haired pirates will go through such troubles of stealing from a navy ship just for the lols. These guys had a motive, and that was the secret of the fruit was known to Shanks. Shanks knew exactly what this fruit could do, and he knew that it belonged to the Joyboy of the past. Also knowing that this fruit holds the power to change the world. That's why he stole it. After the death of its captain Roger, Shanks' primary goal has been to make sure Roger's dream came true. Now, Roger's dream itself is still yet to be revealed, as very much like Luffy, when he went out to state what he will do once he becomes the greatest and freest pirate in the world, Oda cuts the statement and goes straight to the reaction. Like, look at these two panels. Shanks resonated with this, seeing the similarities between himself, Roger and Luffy, believing this kid is the one his captain was waiting for. Shanks from then on put all bets on Luffy and the future, believing in fate. This understanding is further proven by Mihawk. During the war in Marineford, Mihawk made a statement which can be understood as though he knew Luffy was the fated child of the next generation, where this information was learned from his good friend Shanks.
あの次世代の申し子の命、ここまでか。
In both manga and anime accounts, Mihawk questions fate, where he too believes in this woven destiny that Shanks gave his left arm for. Yes, another point is when Shanks told Whitebeard that he gave his left arm for the next generation. But again, why would Shanks go this far? Well, that's because Shanks truly believed in this promised child and foretold prophecy. After Luffy ate the fruit, Shanks took on the role to become the mediator and facilitate the peace the world will usher onto, ultimately fulfilling the promise he made to Roger. When Shanks went to the 5 elders telling them about Luffy and the devil fruit he possessed, he was trying to warn them to change their ways, otherwise they will see the world turned upside down, just as Whitebeard declared in chapter 576. But with all that said, this brings us to Shanks' connection to the world government. Like, we get it. Shanks is trying to facilitate and carry on Roger's final will, ushering the world into the vision he foresaw. He went to Laughdale, he knows about Joyboy, he knows about the prophecies. But how the heck did Shanks straight up walk into Marijoa and speak to the 5 elders and rang no alarm bells? Like, what?
Well, it's simple. Shanks is a celestial dragon raised by Gold D. Roger. If you guys remember the God Valley incident, it took place 38 years in the past. This incident started with Rox D. Zebek wanting to become the king of the world and was planning a big attack on the world nobles to take Im-sama's seat, which isn't supposed to exist. During the God Valley incident, some of the celestial dragons were also present. Due to this, Garp and the Marines were forced to ally with Roger to destroy Zebek and his crew. Roger and Garp defeated Zebek in the 1v2, leading to the island literally disappearing off the sea. Rox might have killed the world nobles that were in God Valley, and only a child was left behind, whom we later know as red-haired Shanks. Roger then adopted him as the child of the crew since, you know, a child doesn't bear the sins of his parents, as Roger told Garp years later for him to adopt Ace. Even Shanks' age and the God Valley incident lines up, where Shanks is 39 years old in the present and the God Valley was 38 years ago, making Shanks a 1-year-old baby during the incident. Shanks being part of the crew since he was a baby also gives sense to why Roger in chapter 966 said that it had been a while since he had held a baby when he was holding Momonosuke for the first time. In the same chapter, we also learned from Marco that Shanks had been part of the Roger Pirates for many years now, confirming that he didn't just join the crew as an apprentice pirate when he was like 13 years old. Now, coming back to the moment when Shanks met the Gorosei, they say something interesting to him, because it's you. Marie Joie is a sacred place. A mere mortal would never be allowed in there, let alone in the presence of the 5 elders. Now, you might say that Shanks is an emperor. Of course, he will be allowed an audience with the elders. However, this would be more the reason for the Gorosei to not meet with Shanks. Like, he is literally a opposing force to the world government in the world of One Piece. He is a pirate, a emperor. So them inviting him to their turf, knowing how strong Shanks is, this is some scary stuff. He could blitz all of the Gorosei in one swing and they let him in with no security. At least bring in a admiral, you know? Well, the only thing that would make sense is that Shanks' lineage plays a factor in this. Him being a celestial dragon gives him the clout to enter Marie Joie and meet the elders. Shanks has this privilege which no other pirate has. Even the royalties of the world don't have this. They are in a separate room bickering amongst themselves during the reverie. Next, now let's answer the main reason Luffy will go meet Shanks after Wano. Shanks holds the final road poneglyph Luffy and the gang need to reach Laugh Tale. With Kaido and Big Mom having a red poneglyph, it's only natural for Shanks, who is on the same level as them, to possess it too. Even Whitebeard, who was part of the original Yonko, had a road poneglyph in Fishman Island, which was a territory under his protection. It's like each of the emperors have a piece of the puzzle of freedom. As we have said in previous videos, the dreams of the emperors are very similar. Kaido wants to establish a nation in New Onigashima. Big Mom has total land where there is no racism. Even Blackbeard's goal is to create a country for pirates with no law and complete freedom. However, each of their methods are flawed. They each have a piece of the Joyboy and Ancient Kingdom puzzle, but can't get it right. Shanks only wants balance while people are suffering. Big Mom takes her subjects' lifespans. Kaido is enslaving and using the people of Wano to create weapons for him, same as how the government used him on experiments to create weapons. If they all jointly piece together each of the good parts of their quest, then they would have the liberation. Similarly to how if they put all of their road poneglyphs together, they would find the Laugh Tale and One Piece. Coming back to the road poneglyph in Fishman Island though, Shanks is likely the one who took it. When he was coming back from East Blue after sacrificing his arm to bet on Luffy and the next generation, he had to pass through Fishman Island since he met Rayleigh and Sabaody, likely for a coding job to submerge. Shanks already had been to Fishman Island with Roger and the crew and possibly has a good relationship with Neptune and the merfolk, so it wouldn't be that odd for him to have swiped it to lie in wait for Luffy, so when Luffy became a great pirate, he could come and take it from Shanks. With this, the question arises, how will Luffy take back the poneglyph from from Shanks. Will Shanks just give it to Luffy, or will the Straw Hats need to battle the red-haired pirates? Well, they will have to fight them, but not just any old battle. It will have to be a Davy back fight. Yes, the arc, which a lot of people skip thinking filler after Skypiea, will come into play. Considering how Oda writes One Piece, everything has a purpose. From Oda naming Sanji Mr. Prince in Alabasta to Kaido being name dropped all the way back in Thriller Bark, everything eventually comes into play. However, the Davy back fight against the Foxy Pirate seems like it was so random, and a lot of people think it's filler, even though it's not. And it's actually a really great arc. It's very funny. Other than Aokiji showing up in the end to freeze Robin and Luffy, not much of significance happened in that arc, except the introduction of this battle type against pirate crews. Shanks being a friend of Luffy's and Usopp's father being in the opposing side, what better way for Oda to showcase a battle for the Poneglyph than for those two top tier crews to scrap it out in such a goofy fight? Especially with Luffy's new awakening powers, it's bound to be the funniest stuff in One Piece. However, there is another theory the community has been talking about recently. Blackbeard has invaded Elbaf and is in a war against the red-haired pirates while the events of Wano are going on. Remember at the end of Marineford in chapter 580, the words Blackbeard said, "This is not the time for me to fight you." Blackbeard could be foreshadowing the eventual clash between the two crews once they have gathered more power. It also makes sense for Blackbeard to do this at this moment, since the reason the balance of power is held in the world is through the influence of Shanks, just like his intervention in the Paramount War in Marineford. Shanks, unlike the other Yonko, purposefully kept stability between the pirates of the New World and the world government. We can see this from Sengoku's respect towards Shanks' decision to bury Ace and Whitebeard after Marineford. Blackbeard represents the opposite of stability and balance. He's chaos and freedom by an outright anarchy. Using this golden opportunity of the other two Yonkos being busy with Luffy and Wano and the world government dealing with the revolutionaries, if Blackbeard were to attack Shanks, no one would try to take his territories or be a threat to him. Thus, Blackbeard versus Shanks could be happening. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button, and while you're at it, check out this other video, which is another banger, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!